I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Are you stuck on the defense screen, having so many commanders that you have no idea which commander is going to be best or worse for your defense? Maybe you put random commanders in there, and since you don't know who to use, just put whatever looks better. Well, I got the solution for you. Keep watching this video and I will talk about the best defense formation that you can use for your castle. Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. So on today's video we are going to talk about defense and how you can make your defense better, and specifically I'm going to talk about the weakness formation and how I think is one of, or if not one of, maybe the strongest defensive formation that you can use for your castles. I will go specifically for the three-way weakness, since I think it's the most upgraded version of this defense, but of course you can do it with fewer ways, or two-way weakness or one-way weakness. And we're going to talk about the healers, the commander that is going to help you initiate it, set the weakness attacks, and of course how you can increase some of your defense size in order to be more and more effective against your enemies. Starting off with the commander that is responsible for initializing all the weakness attacks, and he's the base of the weakness system. We have Jaime Lannister. This commander, even though he seems that he's an average spearman commander, I assure you that his 4-star ability, it's not going to matter which troop type you're going to use. His base skills, base defense attributes are going to be spearman defense and spearman health, but of course the total attack increase for your whole army is going to be really useful in every situation. But of course our focus here is going to be the weakness formation, and this is only available after you get Jaime Lannister up to 4 stars. So his 4-star ability, Hear Me Roar, when allied lineups receive healing, the lineup normal attack changes to weakness attacks for 5 seconds. Weakness attack, every time your lineup is attacking the enemy lineup, it cannot miss, and it's going to attack the lineup with the most lost troops. And for every one weakness attack taken by the target lineup, the weakness damage is going to increase by 3. 3, even though here it's just a number, it's going to be 3%. Which is really important when we talk further about the overall damage output of this formation. But let's start again at the start, where it says that every time your lineups receive healing. So right now we got 5 healing commanders in the game. I will put them in the screen right now. As you're going to see, we got one of each lineup except bows. So we have Lats for infantry, we have Enzo for cavalry, and we have Drake for spearmen, but there are also some other additions that will initiate some healing, as Hector and of course as Arslan. The two last commanders are going to be seen less on a 3-way weakness lineup, since they're more focused again for spearman stats, but if you're going for spearman frontline, they're going to be useful as well. But we're going to talk about briefly about the first 3 commanders, in they're exactly the same, but for their respective troop type. So let's go first of all talk about Lats really quick. So as we said, Lats is going to be a healing commander for the infantry lineup, where her 4-star ability, called the Harpy, and in battle every 3 seconds Commander Lats is going to increase the ally infantry lineup defense by 7%. And when it's fully stacked up to 4 times, this is going to start every 3 seconds to heal your wounded troops. So this is going to be only for infantry of course, but if we put side to side the 4-star ability for Enzo and for Drake. They're going to be exactly the same, just for their respective troop type. This is the base lineup in my eyes for every 3-way weakness lineup, especially on defense, because I think it's more useful in defense. But of course we should check Hector and Arslan on their own, since their kit is going to be a little bit different there. So first of all we got Arslan and his 4-star ability, which is going to heal your troops. It doesn't specify troop, which is really good, so you can use it on every formation obviously, but every 8 seconds Commander Arslan heals 2% of the wounded troops for your ally, and it's going to be focused for the troop with the greatest losses. This really translates that if you have 3 troop types defending, it's always going to heal the front lineup. So let's say you're going for infantry, spear and cavalry formation. It's most likely going to heal infantry every time until all of them are dead, and it's going to move back to the second lineup, which is going to be spearmen, for example, and they will start losing troops there. But I think that by that time you are going to have concluded the battle, so it won't really matter. And of course we have to check Hector as well. I think Hector is a little bit more useful than Arslan, since he's going to add a small counter to the female formation, and especially when the enemy is going to have commanders like Cersei or Dany, when they're going to deal skill damage to your whole lineup. So his 4-star ability, Bloodthirsty Long Spear, after the first time active army skill damage is taken by its allied lineups at the front. Again, make sure that you remember at the front, which is really important. Immediately he's going to heal 50% of the troops lost due to the damage taken from the active army skills. So this is going to be a small counter to the female lineup, where if you use Salma for example, she's going to deal active army damage from all her allied lineup commanders, the female commanders, to the enemy lineup. So Hector is going to be a small counter to this whole formation, and at the same time he's going to increase that attack lineup by 15% overall attack. So Hector only is going to heal you once, so keep that in mind. Arslan is going to have a repeated healing every 8 seconds, and if you think about the first 3 commanders, they're going to start healing your lineup after 12 seconds in the battle. So Hector is going to essentially initiate the healing. Arslan could keep healing your troops until your other commanders are going to start healing after the 12 second mark. So now we are moved to my wall to give you an example of how a 3-way weakness is going to work as a defense. So here on my wall I'm going to have Enzo, Drake and Lats, the 3 healing commanders for their respective troop type. Of course I'm gonna need to have Jamie in my defense, and the 5th commander is going to be really diverse to players. Some people like to use Theon 4-star, since he's going to increase your total attack based on how many troops you have in your castle. Others like to use Julian, since he's going to increase the attack stats for all 3 troop types that you're going to use for defense. But in my experience I think that Annie is one of the strongest commanders to have in your wall, since her 4-star ability is going to deal a significant damage to the enemies, and her kit offers total defense and total attack, which is also going to increase the overall stats of your troop lineup. So here we are in order to check a battle report and see how the overall 3-way weakness works for defense. And I'm going to talk about why stats don't really matter when you're using this type of formation. So if you go to the battle record, and we're going to have a detailed analysis for the whole battle, remember that when I said that the commanders are going to start healing your troop types after 12 seconds, so if we skip the first 12 seconds, you are going to see that we are going to start having weakness attacks initiated. So here, if we go back to 1 second to the 11-second mark, we're going to see down here that after her lats I used her active skill, she's going to start healing the troop type that she's responsible for, which is going to be infantry. So here the A2 lineup with infantry receiving healing is triggering James Lannister Warsaw Awakening skill here mirror, and for 5 seconds from the activation of the skill, normal attacks launched by A2 lineup of this amount of infantry is going to be changed to weakness attacks. So as you're going to see here, the first time the A2 lineup attacks against the enemy cavalry, it's going to increase the overall damage output to that exact lineup, the A1 lineup, by 3%. So this is a stacking ability that is going to continue and continue grow until either your lineup is dead or the enemy lineup is dead. So here we are up to 6% more damage, and as we're going to go down the line, you're going to see that the damage is going to increase each time. So now we're up to 9, and now is the time that Drake used his star ability again, and it's time that also the spearman lineup of my defense is going to start dealing weakness. So the two weakness attacks are going to stack on top of each other. So every time you're going to attack, here we're gonna go to 12, 15, and as we go further and further down the battle, the overall weakness is going to increase by 3% each attack. So we're going to have cavalry at some point do the same, and if we skip a few seconds in battle, let's go to 18 seconds for example, our lineups are going to deal, for example here, we're going to deal 135% extra damage. So that's why I say that the overall stats of your troop type is not going to matter that much, since after you stack enough weakness to the enemy lineup, the damage output of your troop type is going to be really big. So even if your troop type is like 500% spearman attack, let's say, when your troop lineup is going to deal 150% extra damage, this is going to be like you have a spearman defense of 1250 spearman attack, which is actually huge. So the stats for your lineup is not going to matter that much, since the damage output of your troop is going to be really tied to the amount of weakness damage that you can do. So as you're going to see here, the weakness damage goes on and on until one of the formations is going to die. Here we're almost up to 200%. As you're going to see here, on the second 20 of the battle, we're going to see that we are dealing a plus of 216% each attack. So essentially we're tripling our troop type attacks here, and it's going to be added on every troop type that you have, because if you attack with infantry, it's going to increase that with weakness. If you attack with spearmen, again it's going to have weakness, so more and more damage, and if you have cavalry as well there, it's going to be even more damage. So stacking the amount of weakness that you deal to the enemy is going to give you the biggest amount of profit. Keep in mind that if you kill the enemy lineup, the overall weakness bonus is going to go down to 0. So this is really important to think in case the enemy are going to have more than one lineup. Weakness defense is going to be really strong against single troop type formations, since they are going to die at the end of the battle, and of course if you kill them at the end, you don't have to stack again the weakness attacks. So as you're going to see here, the enemy A1 lineup was annihilated after the stack almost went to 300%. So here we're going to start to deal again weakness attacks, and the stack of the weakness damage is going to go back to 0. So keep that in mind, since it's really important to remember that the overall consistency of the enemy troop formation is going to be important as well. But since most of our battles are going to be against single troop type enemies, this is going to be really good. The three-way weakness is going to be really good against bowman formations as well, since bowmen cannot counter your front troops. And of course, since it's going to be a single troop type, the amount of weakness damage is going to go more and more towards your favor and make you deal more and more damage in the end. Here I'm going to put on the screen another defense of one of my friends had against the bow troop type, where, as you're going to see, even though the enemy player is also really strong and both their powers are comparable, since the three-way weakness was against a single troop type attack, it really dealt a huge amount of damage and eventually managed to beat the enemy formation. So last but not least, to end this long video, I want to talk about really quickly about how to increase your defense for your army, for your castle. The defense size is really important, and of course there are many ways to do it. There are expensive ways to do it, but I'm going to talk about briefly the free ways to do it. So your first choice is going to be Iron Defense. The Iron Defense tree is going to increase your overall max defense troops by 3 million at the 10th level, which is going to be really good. And the other way to increase your defense for free is by upgrading Simon Blackmire. And his overall stats here, he's going to increase your base defense troops by 500%, by 500,000. Sorry, on the gold quality. His third star is going to give you an increase of another 300,000 troops, so it's gonna go up to 800,000. And of course, after you're doing his awakening, he's going to give you another small increase of 260,000 troops. Of course, since we already passed the huge video, there's another way to increase your maximum defense size, but this is going to be maybe unobtainable for like 99% of the player base. So the SP tier troops, the exterior for these troops, the SP, is going to give you a 2 million increase in max defense troops at max quality. But as I said, these are almost unobtainable for the most of the player base, if not 99.9% of the player base. So, concluding this video, I want to talk about that if you like the three-way weakness and you want to invest on one weapon in the game, this should be the Jamie Lannister weapon, the Oathkeeper, which is going to give you a big boost in the weakness damage increase by each attack. Even unlocking it on the first tier is going to give you a 0.5% increase each attack, and of course it doesn't sound much, but as you go further and further, it's gonna go up to 4, 4.5, 5, and at max quality is going to be 6%, essentially doubling your amount of weakness attacks damage per tick. So I think if you want to run the three-way weakness, if you are a medium spender, look no further than the three-way weakness. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you really liked this video explaining the weakness defense, and I hope it wasn't too long for a defense video. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next one.
I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire. Heart on fire. Set my heart afire.